Welcome everybody to Treasure Data's hand-on webinar. Today we're going to be talking about our September release notes and reviewing them. My name is Laura. I run all of our webinars and events here at Treasure Data. So yeah, we're very excited to have you with us. This webinar is going to be a little different than some of our other ones. We're going to go high level through all of the release notes, and then at the end, instead of taking questions, because we know all of you have different implementations of the Treasure Data product, if you do have questions, we suggest you reach out to your rep or support@treasuredata.com. Go ahead and email them there, and we can help you on your specific instance if you have specific questions about any of these new functionalities. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Scott Mitchell, who is our Senior Solutions Engineer, who's going to walk us through these release notes. And welcome, Scott.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura, and thank you all for tuning in today to learn about what's new with Treasure Data. So we put a link to the release notes themselves in the chat, or we will.
Yeah, no, it's right there. Yes, if you go into your GoToWebinar interface, there's a little chat box. So yeah, direct link. Go ahead and click on it if you want more info.
Yeah, so feel free to follow along with this. We'll go in order of the release notes, and as Laura said, please feel free to reach out to your Treasure Data rep or Treasure Data support@treasuredata.com, and you know if you have any questions about what's discussed here. And yeah, with that, let's get to it. Let's see here. Click. All right. So the first item on the agenda is, we're happy to announce that we have a new data connector for Cvent. So if you haven't used Cvent before, Cvent provides software for event management, web surveys, email marketing, as well as a global event venue directory.
We event planners use them all the time. I'm very familiar with Cvent. Yeah.
This is Laura's favorite integration.
Yep, so better integration with my lead scanner. I love it.
So with this, you can consolidate contacts, events, invitees, registrations, as well as other sources that exist already in your ARM Treasure Data CDP. I wanted to note that this integration is currently in private beta and only available to beta participants. So if you'd like to participate, please contact your Treasure Data rep to get that implemented. Number two is another export connector. So we're happy to announce our connector with Cheetah Digital MailPublisher. So with this integration, you can export target lists from your existing data sources to use with MailPublisher Smart Lists. And like Cvent, this is also in private beta. So if you'd like to enable this and participate, please contact your Treasure Data rep. Moving right along. So we wanted to draw your attention to the ability to create optimized Facebook ads targeted to segments you've created in Treasure Data. So you might be wondering, what's the difference between this and what I was doing before, which was writing job results into Facebook custom audiences. And this new functionality and the old functionality are similar, but this new feature is even more powerful because when using Facebook custom audiences, before that required identifier information, say for example, email or phone number. But using the Treasure Data Personalization API enables you to send a segment to Facebook custom audiences without those parameters, and instead use the Facebook pixel. So to set this up, you'd install the Facebook JavaScript tag on your site and use the firing of that Facebook tag to send to Facebook Treasure Data segments that the user belongs to. So when all this is done, Treasure Data segments can be used to create targeted ads on Facebook. So in other words, when setup is done, when a person visits your site, the Treasure Data JavaScript tag would fire on your site to find the segments that the visitor is a member of, and the Facebook JavaScript tag would fire to send those segments to Facebook, where you can use the Facebook ads platform to deliver custom targeted ads to those segments. And so for more information on how explicitly to implement this, we've written up detailed documentation that can be referenced from the release notes. Moving on to number 4, So now you can search the Treasure Data Integrations catalog by selecting from the list of technology verticals on the right sidebar of the page. Easy way to filter these different connectors. And number 4 goes hand in hand with number 5. Along those same lines, you can now search the connections page by owner name and integration type. That is, the platform or service that's being connected to. And this is really helpful when you have a large Treasure Data implementation with lots of different users testing and creating connectors, and you'd like to only view the connectors maybe that you've made, or only view the connectors of a particular technology. Moving right along to number 6. This one is important because there may be some action required for users who are using the MySQL data connector. Essentially, the background on this is that the latest version of the Bulk MySQL plugin sets a property as false by default in order to get the correct date-time value when the MySQL server time zone and the client time zone are different. So this change also means that the date-time values are converted to UTC time zone, which is the default in Treasure Data when those values are imported into Treasure Data. So essentially, the impact of this issue is that after this upgrade is released on September 25th, it's possible that date-time values could get accidentally converted to UTC. And so how to know you're affected? So you may be affected if your MySQL server is set to a non-UTC time zone, and you set up your connector through Workflow, the Treasure Data command line, or through the REST API. If you set up your connector through the graphical console, your connector should not be affected. So to make sure MySQL imports retain their current value with no time zone conversion, it's a simple fix of adding an additional parameter to the connector config YAML. And so for specifics on who's affected and how to where to add this quick fix, there's a link in the release notes with documentation. Great. And that's it for that one. Number 7, we're talking about Hive queries and failing automatically when the disk space limits are reached. So Hive processing will at times move data from S3 into local storage or HDFS storage on Hadoop cluster nodes. And Hive jobs will fail when disk space is exhausted or when disk space is exhausted on Hadoop cluster nodes. So in the past, when this would happen, Treasure Data engineering would be alerted. They'd manually kill the job, and Treasure Data support would manually follow up with the customer to notify them. And to remove these manual processes, now jobs that reach their disk space limit will fail automatically, and the user will be alerted through the job log. And if you find that your Hive jobs are failing a lot due to reaching disk space limits, you can check out our performance tuning for Hive reference in our documentation. We also have a performance tuning for a Presto reference. It's also very handy. Great. And number 8, so talking about TD Sessionize. So TD Sessionize is used for grouping a series of event data into individual sessions for analysis. So the most common use of this would be using TD Sessionize to group someone's web behavior into sessions, which becomes useful in lifetime value analysis or multi-touch attribution. And so TD Sessionize actually has some performance issues and sometimes gives inconsistent results. So we will be deprecating TD Sessionize and recommending customers use TD Sessionize window instead. This has equivalent functionality and is consistent, more consistent, more reliable, and is faster. So TD Sessionize will be removed in July 2019. And so included in the release notes is some documentation for how to migrate. as well as some more information about TD Sessionize window. So be sure to check that out. And last but not least, Treasure Data will be upgrading to Presto 0.205 this month, and this will require some code changes because there are some constructs that were previously legal but will cause syntax errors after the update. So if your account is affected, customer success or support will be reaching out with more guidance as well as information on timelines for the update. And yeah, that's all for me. So if you have any questions, please reach out to support or your TD rep, and don't forget to download and read the release notes.
Great, awesome, lots of good info. So do keep an eye out for future release notes, everybody. We will be doing this on a more regular basis to try to keep everybody informed. You can always find the release notes. It comes up in the console too. I always get a little flag, like where Cause says, like, hi, there's release notes. So you can check those out there. Again, please reach out to your Treasure Data rep or support at treasuredata.com if you have any questions about your specific instance. And we'll see you again soon. We've got some more hands-on webinars coming up. We actually have one tomorrow you should join us for. It's running Treasure Data from the command line with sales engineer Rhett, who's going to be teaching us all about that. And it's going to be a part one. We're going to do a part two at the end of the month because there's so many different fun commands to learn and walk through. So thanks, everybody. And again, please do reach out if you have any questions.